Hey guys, so we're here to do another edition of the podcast. We've been thinking about you guys and we've been thinking about what to share with you. And the first thing I want to share with you was some cool apps I found. This is the end of the year, they have like the best of. So there's a section in the iTunes App Store about relationships. Some are about finances, some are about, actually there's one on there where you can take the quiz to find out what your love language is. And I highly recommend that. And also there's one that we're actually using now. It's called Between, and that one's pretty cool because it links you together and it reminds you, hey, have you spoken, have you communicated today? Those kind of things. Because I think those little texts and little ways to communicate throughout the day help connect you. Any type of communication is always helpful in your relationship. So I encourage you to use books, apps, whatever you need to do to always, pour into your marriage. All right? So what do you got?
So we wanted to talk a little bit about our weekend. So something I started several years ago for Herbie as kind of a birthday present. His love language is quality time and physical touch. So, it's hard to do that all the time with 3 kids and jobs and all these kind of crazy things that we have going on. So I started for his birthday taking him away for the weekend. And it's not very far. This year we went to Greenville, so it wasn't very far away at all. But after Thanksgiving, since his birthday falls right around Thanksgiving, we either go before or after Thanksgiving. And we just go for a couple nights and we go shopping, usually Christmas shopping together for the kids while they're not with us. And, this time we ate pizza at 12 o'clock at night in the bed. We haven't done that in years. So just little things like that. Just time to connect together, to talk together about things without interruptions. And I just think that's so important for your marriage. And we're going to have some of our former youth on this podcast today. Herbie's going to splice them in because we actually had the opportunity to be with them on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. They invited us to come eat, which is one of my absolute favorite things about being in youth ministry is, once they've grown up and gotten married and now they've got a baby of their own, they still want to be around us. So it's so great. So anyway, you're going to meet them a little bit later, Kaylee and Clayton Summerton, and we were invited to their house and we got to ask them a few questions about marriage since they're in a different season of life than we are. And so anyway, they actually were getting ready to leave the next day to go to Louisiana for an LSU football game. And so that's something they enjoy doing together in their marriage, and it's a way for them to get away. And they have a baby, and that's almost 2, I guess. She'll be 2 in February. So it's just so important. So I just encourage you. I know Christmas is a busy time of year, but sometimes you have a little bit more time off. And so just take every opportunity that you have to do that together. We did not go away together for a weekend until Madison was 8 years old. Our 10th anniversary was the first time we ever left our kids by themselves or with my grandparents, with my parents, their nan and grandpa. So I knew they were in very good hands, but we probably waited too long. But it's something that we have kind of tried to raise our kids knowing that our marriage is a priority. And so, we just try to do those kind of things. We don't do it often enough, honestly, but we'd love to hear your ideas. What do you do for date nights? How do you come up with fun ideas of things to do? What's been your favorite things that you've come up with to enhance your marriage and be creative with your time together?
Yeah, and that came from she mentioned it was a while into our marriage before we did that, and that's because we had to learn those things. A gift for me that I would enjoy is that. It's not necessarily a gift I would unwrap. And she's the same. I know now what she really appreciates. And that's a good thing to always know about your spouse because you want to make those memories and really do the things that they like, not what you think they like. I think that's what you want to talk about, some thoughtful gift ideas.
Yeah, so I just happen to think, especially thinking about Kaylee and Clayton, because as we went into their new home that they just got, there are so many handmade items that Clayton has made. He loves to work with his hands. He's really good at it. So it was so cool for them to point out all the things he's made, a toy box for their daughter and their kitchen table and their end tables and just all these things that he's made that are beautiful. And that's something that Kaylee loves. And they can look all over their house and look at things that he has made with his own hands that have gone into their home. And so we're sitting at a farm table that Herbie made me when we moved up here to the upstate, and a bench that him and the kids made for me to go with it a year or so ago. And right behind me, if you can see, there's this little thing that's hanging from the ceiling. And we actually were at this at the mall in Greenville At this place called Altered State. They have the coolest stuff in there, y'all, but it's pretty expensive. And so they had one of these little topiary things hanging in their display in the window, and I happened to say how much I loved it. And so my husband, I didn't know it, but he went behind me and asked how much it was, and they were like, well, it's not really for sale, it's part of our display. And so they were like, but call back in a few weeks, maybe we'll get rid of it. And so he called back, and they still weren't ready to sell it. So he decided, I guess it was around my birthday or Mother's Day or something.
I think it was Mother's Day.
Yeah, and so he decided, you know what, forget that, I'm just going to make it for her. So he went to Hobby Lobby and all these different places and found the supplies and created this for me. And so that made it like way better than the one he could have bought from the store. So, you know, I just want to tell you, as Christmas approaches, sometimes that can be a source of anxiety. It is for me, because I like to get thoughtful gifts for my kids, for my parents, all these kind of things. And so, you know, you don't have to spend a lot of money on things for your spouse or for each other, for important people in your life. There's been so many years that I've given grandparents gifts that were pictures made out of my kids' hands and feet. You know, things like that are priceless, because now their little feet won't even fit on a canvas because they're too big. So just, you know, tell us what some of your favorite gifts are that you've ever received. I would love to hear that. So please put that down in the comments.
Yeah, and see, that came from time, because when she said she liked that, we saw the display and she actually stopped to take a second and was like, hey, I really like that. I said, well, you know, if she likes it, I want to try to get it. But see, that's one thing we have to do as guys. We need to listen. You know, when they say things, you know, listen, pay attention. And they wouldn't sell it to me, so I had to end up making it myself. And that's probably not exactly what it looked like, but that's the best I could come up with. And she obviously likes it, and that's what really matters. It's for her. So. And I tell my kids the same thing. I have my office is decorated with all the things they've made me over the years, and I like it. I mean, I look at that stuff every single day. I'd much rather have that than a bought gift, because it means something. And each one of those is a moment in time that I can reflect on, and it takes me back to that moment. And I think that's why it means more to me than some gift, you know what I mean, or some shirt or something like that, if that makes sense. And you may feel the same way. But if you don't, I mean, that's okay. Everybody's different. That's just the way we've figured out that our love languages work.
And some people's love language is gifts. And so that can be a little bit intimidating sometimes. But yeah, listening. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't always remember. So I whip out my phone and keep it in my notes section. My kids know not to go on my phone during Christmas time, because all their Christmas gifts are going to be in there, because then I go by and put little check marks. Okay, so if you're that type A personality, I'm with you. But yeah, I want to get what they want. So I try to listen and be mindful of that, and do those kind of things too. So that's just a tip for you.
All right, so hope we helped you, because it is that time of year, right, where everybody's Christmas shopping. We did go out on Black Friday. It wasn't that bad this year, you know.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of lame, actually.
Yeah, but you know, a lot of people fight and, you know, act crazy over gifts, and sometimes we do that over stuff we really don't need to purchase anyway. So I would encourage you to think deeply about that kind of stuff. Put a little thought into it. Maybe it's not something that you can buy, but maybe it's something you can do or make. So
think outside the box.
Sure.
Yeah, just surprise them. You know, girls like that kind of stuff usually. Or girls, be specific about what you want. Don't leave it so wide open that he gets you something and then you're disappointed because your expectations, you had something you thought you wanted, but you weren't specific enough, and he got you what he thought. I had to learn a long time ago not to tell Herbie I wanted clothes, because Precious, God love him, he would get me like mediums. Okay, homegirl, don't wear that. So I know he was trying to be nice, but I couldn't wear it. So really it wasn't a gift, because I had to end up taking it back, or it just sat around, or I gave it to the kids or whatever. So it's fine. Like, we learned that that's just, you know, not something that he buys for me. It's totally fine. I don't care. I love the other stuff way better. So.
All right, guys. I think that's about it for this one, because we want you to stay tuned, though, because now I want you to hear from some of our former students. They're at a different stage of their marriage, and I think you really like it. All right, see you next time.
It takes grace. Hi. Okay, so we're going to splice some things together for this podcast, but while we were here in beautiful Lugoff, South Carolina, we had to come and see our precious former youth, who is now all grown and married and has a baby. The Summertons, Clayton and Caleb. So, how long have you been married now?
3.5 years.
3.5? Holy crap.
4.5. Good Lord, okay, that went by really fast. Okay, so almost 4 years in April. So, okay, we've been asking everybody this question, but I want to ask y'all, because y'all are still newly married. That's still newly married. What are the secret ingredients to a great marriage in your mind?
You go first, you want me to?
Okay, so you go first.
I think a big thing, being able to laugh with each other. We definitely both like to cut up and joke, and it's fun to be able to do that together. I think being willing to compromise, of course, and understanding what each person brings to the table, what they do well, what maybe areas that they lack in, and being able to realize that you complement each other in that way and play to your strengths.
That's good. Yeah. Oh,
She said happy baby.
oh.
I would say don't have expectations that are too high. Don't you need to set your standards high, but things that you would do for yourself, don't always expect your spouse to do it, because then you'll always end up disappointed.
Always.
But you'll end up disappointed.
You set very low standards. and you're
I've
very
actually said this already before. So
You're
I get
different.
it.
So that's just something I've had to really learn, is just not to always have these high expectations for things I would do. Just 'cause.
What do you think having a child has what kind of things has that changed about your marriage?
Just not being the most important person, especially with having a toddler. She's takes a lot of our attention, and so just having to get used to not being the center of your spouse's attention all the
That's a
time.
great point. I'm glad you brought that up.
And I think it's, for us, we've been really trying hard to make the most of the time we have when it's just one-on-one time. Trying to take little trips when we can, and once we put her to bed, really focusing on spending time with each other
And watching The Office.
all the time.
That's super important. Yes, I'm so glad you figured that out. Is there anything about marriage that has surprised you that maybe you didn't expect, that was either challenging or a positive thing? It could be either, anything. I know we're putting you on the spot.
I thought I'd be maybe cooking a little less, but
Well, you shouldn't be such a good cook then. See, that's your fault.
no, honestly, not really. I think we dated for 5 years before we got married, so we've been together for a long time, and I think that's really important with any marriage. You really need to know who the person is, as much as you can before you say I do.
Have a strong foundation before.
Yeah. And y'all, they're talking from that, even though they've only been married almost 4 years, they have been through how many moves?
A lot.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
3 or 4 moves. So they've been in an apartment, 3 houses. They've built a house, redone a house, been away from family, moved back in with parents. Y'all been through some serious things in these short 3.5 years.
The
So
Lord's put us on a roller coaster.
yeah, but that's crazy. They've changed jobs. Changed churches. Y'all have done a lot in your short time together, and you're still thriving. So, dude, that's commendable. So we're proud of y'all.
Just enjoy
We're
the
so
ride.
happy for you. That's right. Enjoy the ride. Yay.
Well, you know what? I think the key to it is finding the right person to marry you. That's half of it right there. If you get the right person, it makes all the difference.
Oh,
See, they agree.
You got it, Kate.
That's sweet.
Yeah, but you was talking about actually marrying them, right? Talking about.
I meant me, but okay, whatever.
You talking about the preacher.
I said the vows, and I prayed for y'all.
Oh, okay,
Hey,
yeah,
go
that
show
was
you,
it.
Go show
Oh, wait.
yourself at the
Yeah, hold on. So if you go in their house, I'm in those pictures over there, but this is what I want to focus in on right here. You see, this is a painting on their wall, and this guy right here, they made me kind of short, but that's me. So if I'm not in a painting in your house, that's probably an issue. So y'all need to get one, and y'all have a better marriage, like these guys. All right, so we're gonna sign out. Any advice? Any last minute things? No.
You good?
I'm good.
It takes grace. Does it not take grace?
It does take grace.
Got it.
It takes grace.